हाँ चलो।
Hello everyone, welcome to the new show here. Today we are discussing about a new topic today. Nitamda, if you can please introduce the topic.
नमस्ते सभी को। मैं ऋषि और हमारे साथ है शेखर और नेनर दोनों। आज हम दोनों भाषा में ही रखेंगे, हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों में ही कन्वर्स करेंगे एंड वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग अबाउट अ वेरी गुड what should I say, set of articles which were taken from a celebrated work of a great philosopher which India produced in late 19th century and one of the great minds of 20th century as well. Professor M Hiriyanna, Professor Mysore Hiriyanna. In this,
Nina,
we will be discussing about Indian conception of values and the difference that we have vis-a-vis Western values, and how are we supposed to differentiate between the two, and how are we supposed to appreciate what we have actually. Nair, would you want to say something or?
Yes, I would like to give an introduction of the author M Hiriyanna. He was a professor of Sanskrit at Maharaja's College, Mysore, and basically he wrote a lot about philosophy, about how Eastern philosophy or Indian philosophy in particular would find similarities or differences with Western philosophy. There are many of his popular essays that are known to people. Some of them are one compilation is popular essays in Indian philosophy. There is outlines of Indian philosophy and so on. So yeah, his work is mainly about understanding Indian philosophy and analyzing it with like scholarly. We can begin the work now.
Definitely.
Yes, Nina,
Also,
yeah, you can actually, if you want, you can go through his biography and maybe share a few your comments or your observation about his career and his work.
Yes. So as written in the screen, he was famously called the Socrates of Mysore. That is because he actually went about understanding and propounding his own ideas around philosophy as well. So, as it is written, he was one of the most eminent Indian philosophers and scholars of the 20th century, often referred as the Socrates of Mysore. Hiriyanna dedicated his life to illuminating the profound wisdom of Indian philosophy for both traditional and modern audiences. His life and academic journey. He was born in 1871 in Mysuru. In 1912, he was appointed lecturer in Sanskrit at Maharaja's College, Mysore. At 1940, he was promoted to assistant professor of Sanskrit. 1919, he became professor of Sanskrit studies at Maharaja's College, Mysore, and collaborated with many other famous people who studied Indian philosophy like S. Radhakrishnan and A. R. Vadia. In 1927, he retired from the University of Mysore and devoted his time to scholarly pursuits. From 1935 onwards, he was presiding over the All India Oriental Conference in Mysore. And 1950, at the age of, I think, 69 or something. He passed away, leaving behind, or 79, I think. He passed away, leaving behind a monumental legacy.
Yeah,
About,
okay. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think we can cover the next part. So, Rishi, you continue. So, whenever there is a like a requirement, we will put the graphics for the audience to actually understand what we are saying and get more references. Rishi, you are Shekhar, you are on mute.
Which one? This one or the other one? Nina?
The one on
Hello.
Preksha we can read first.
This one.
Yes.
No,
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 the
the
other one.
article, the other one. Preksha.
I only got this one.
Yeah, yeah, this.
This is the
Ah,
one.
this,
Yes.
yeah, this page.
Yes.
You might need to actually increase the size of the page of the font. Because, yeah, I think good enough. You can go ahead.
Mm,
Okay. The following essay, which will be published in 5 parts, so we are going to do this series as such, is taken from the introduction to the book Indian Conception of Values by Professor M Hiriyanna. Value in general. The place which values occupy in life is so important that no philosopher whose theme is the whole of experience can omit to take account of them. But this does not mean that they will always receive from him the amount of attention which their importance demands. Thus, in modern philosophy, ever since the time of Descartes and Locke, the theory of knowledge has usurped the place which is due to values, and it is only in recent times that, as a consequence of next page, kindly. As a consequence of the total
mm, mm, yeah. Is it good enough?
the total divorce of philosophy from life to which that practice naturally led, there has been a gradual shifting of interest from it to the problem of value. One of the distinguishing features of Indian philosophy is that throughout its long history, it has consistently given the foremost place to values. In some early works, this problem receives almost exclusive attention. For example, the Upanishads speak more often of the final goal of life, the means to its attainment, and the inner peace and joy which it signifies than of being or of knowing as such. The recognition of its importance by Indian thinkers does not mean that they treat of value as the subject matter of only a particular branch of philosophy. Rather, it inspires their investigation as a whole, and its influence is seen in every department of philosophic thought. Indian philosophy may, on this account, be described as essentially a philosophy of values. The purpose of the present volume is to give an idea of values of life as conceived in ancient India. But as in the case of the other problems investigated in Indian philosophy, there is here also much diversity of opinion. We shall therefore devote these introductory chapters to a consideration of the subject in a general way, not taking into account the distinctions in respect of it that are found in the several systems. Any comments? Vimarsh Dada, Nenar, Shekhar too.
Yeah, no comments as of now. Let's read. Let's continue reading.
Fair
I
enough.
just have one comment that throughout this essay,
Yeah.
the viewers can notice the one difference to strike note here is the theory of knowledge. That all knowledge is about all systems are about knowledge purely and about values. That is the distinction he's trying to make. So you'll always see the
Hmm.
distinction between values as the fundamental building blocks of a system and of knowledge itself. So he is trying to subordinate knowledge, but you will read about that as we go on.
True, true, true. So, yeah, let's continue then. The meaning of value can be best indicated by contrasting it with that of another fact, vis-a-vis. Another fact, okay. Uh, the immediate result of all knowledge is to make us aware of facts. If we look at, if we look about us, we perceive some object or other, that is direct observation. We may also come to know of things indirectly, as when we hear a distant sound and connect it with its possible source. The object seen directly or known indirectly is what we mean here by a fact. It need not signify a present existence, as these examples may suggest. It may be what existed in the past or what will exist in the future. Ordinarily speaking, it is not even necessary that it should be a matter of certainty. It is enough if it appears, for the moment to be so. All that is required is that it should not be known at the time to be unreal. A knowledge of such facts may suffice by itself to satisfy our theoretic curiosity, but in everyday life it leads, as a rule, to action whose aim is the positive one of securing something we like or the negative one of avoiding something we dislike. Either way, knowledge lights up for us the path of action, which we pursue in order that some desire of ours may be satisfied. It is the satisfaction of desire or the achievement of ends. As the result of knowing facts, that is to be understood by value. The Sanskrit word used for it means the object of liking, ishta, and the term value may therefore be defined as that which is desired. The opposite of value or disvalue, as it is described, may in contrast be taken as that which is to be shunned or avoided, dushta. For the sake of convenience in treatment, we shall hereafter generally refer to values only, but what is said of them will, with appropriate changes, apply to disvalues also. There is one point in the above conception of value to which it is necessary to draw particular attention. It has reality only in its fulfillment, and needs therefore to be actualized before it can become truly a value. This is the reason why we characterized it as the satisfaction of desire or the achievement of ends. If facts are apprehended, values are realized. It is only as realizable, or on the supposition that they are so, that we call them values. To state the same otherwise, an object of final interest does not usually exist already, but has to be brought into being by deliberate effort, sadhya. It is to be which is not yet. Existent objects are no doubt necessary for its realization, but they merely serve as means thereto. Since values are thus of the future, the question of their present existence does not arise. Unlike facts, they are not given siddha, but we have instead another question in respect of them, viz., whether they are feasible or possible of achievement, kriti siddha. If you could go down, scroll it down. Next. Ordinarily speaking, the possibility of their achievement need not be a matter of certitude, as in the case of facts. It is enough if they do not, for the moment, appear to be unreal. So, in the case of values, it is enough if they are not definitely known at the time to be impossible of achievement. It will seem, from what has been said so far, that the cognition of a fact leads to the realization of value through arousing a desire for it. Strictly, however, the arousal of desire is mediated by an idea of the value to be realized. That is, the cognition of a fact suggests the idea of some value, whose general nature we shall soon consider, and it is that idea which, through awakening a desire, leads in due course to its realization. There is a point of much importance concerning this idea of value to which it is necessary to refer. It is always associated with a feeling of pleasure owing to the past experience of the valuing subject, and it is that feeling which awakens a desire for realizing the value in question. That is, we should not only have an idea of value to seek it, but also prize it. In fact, a value is entitled to be called so only when it is thus prized or appreciated by us. If you could scroll down. Thus, while value, according to our definition, is the object or content of desire, it is grounded in feeling. It begins with an idea of value, which, being tinged with a feeling of pleasure, arouses a desire for it, and that desire, by prompting, in its turn, appropriate activity, culminates in the realization of value. Hence, all the three aspects of the mind, cognition, feeling, and will, are involved in the process of value realization, and they operate in succession. But this should not be taken to mean that the mind is understood here as working compartmentally. It is, of course, the whole mind that functions at every instant. Only the Indian view signifies that its different aspects function predominantly at different stages of the process of value realization. Note, note that so far we have not stated that value is pleasure. We should add that it is not always the end, ishta, aimed at which is termed a value. The means to it, ishta sadhana, also are often described so, but as subserving ends other than themselves. They can only be instrumental and not intrinsic values like them. That is to say, though the term value is primarily applied to the ends that are sought, often the to their attainment are also secondarily called so. Such transfers in the use of words being not at all uncommon. Thus, wealth is an instrumental value, while the fulfillment of any of life's needs to which it leads is an intrinsic one. But the distinction between the two, except in some cases, like a surgical operation, which is desired solely for the result it is expected to produce, is not a hard and fast distinction, for the one may come to be conceived as the other by a change in the attitude of the valuing subject. Thus, money, which is commonly taken to be a means, becomes an end in itself in the eyes of the miser. Contrariwise, the satisfaction of hunger, which is at first looked upon as of intrinsic worth, may come to be, scroll a bit, satisfaction of hunger, which is at first looked upon as of intrinsic worth, may come to be valued as a means to bodily health or power. It is clear from the above that the notions of fact and value are closely connected with each other. If the idea of a value presupposes the knowledge of some fact, almost every fact of which we become aware is associated with in our mind with some significance to life. Though thus interconnected, each remains distinct as shown. For example, by the circumstance that their appeal is to different sides of our mind, viz., the cognitive and the conative, respectively. If a fact is given and is to be apprehended, a value is appreciated and requires to be achieved. Hence, it is not right to attempt, as some do, to reduce either to the other. Modern pragmatism, for instance, tries to explain facts in terms of value, saying that when analyzed, they all turn out to be values. And pure science does the reverse by virtually eliminating values and retaining only facts. The truth is that both the conceptions are needed for a proper explanation of the world as we know it and the life we lead in it. So here ends the first part. And the most interesting part of this article is that all of the footnotes over here. So all of the footnotes here, which we saw above, in like every sentences which we are getting, like after every end of sentence, you had those numbers. Every single sentences which he made above, they were all inspired or taken from some of our shastras, and these are the amazing footnotes over here and the references. So, any comments from all the other participants? Vimarsh Dada, Ninar, Shekhar.
Yes. Hold on. I think my camera is correct. Frozen. Correct. Frozen. My camera is frozen. If
Yeah, it's frozen.
okay, let me just remove and rejoin. Then you can continue. Let me rejoin.
Okay. शेखर क्या लगता है? निनर. Oh, okay. निनर, कुछ है तेरे पास बोलने के लिए इस पे? It's a tough topic,
So
actually.
yes, but the contention is, as you can see in the last paragraph, that uh, people who are, you can
Hmm.
say, pure scientists
Hmm.
or positivists, you can say,
Hmm.
they are entirely reliant on
Yes.
facts or what they can
Hmm.
see with their own eyes and deduce from that. But
Yes.
there is more to the understanding of the world, and um, also you can say he was giving the example, right? The
Hmm.
the means and the ends.
Yes. Yes.
All action, there must
Ishta and
be
Ishta sadhana.
a value behind it. Yeah, there must be a value you seek behind it, and whether the value you
True.
seek is a means or the end, that cannot be taken by entirely just a fact-based system. There will always be a value system behind that.
True. 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 Absolutely. And I think he's indicating towards a holistic approach, right? So there is this compartmentalization while approaching any subject right now. That either it's facts or either it's feelings. Only these two are considered and totally uh, like bifurcated. Instead, he's saying that we must include both of them and then try to explain things, which is what Indian system of philosophies did. I guess that's what he's saying. At least that's what I could deduce.
One more
Yes.
thing, I think let's actually, because it's a very complex issue, let's actually delve into a little bit more on his work itself, because I think many of us would not know his works, what kind of work he has done. Uh, so I think this is something which is important. So, Rishi, correct,
Hmm.
we are reading about the correct reading about the book Indian Conception of Values, correct, first published in 1975. That
Exactly.
book excerpts that we are now reading and talking about by a series of
Yes.
articles written by Mr. Balakrishnan.
Compiled. Yes.
Yeah, compilation. Okay. So correct. So when we were reading, correct. So we were getting the idea fact versus value.
Yep.
So Mr. Hiriyanna made a crucial distinction. Value is an end in itself and represents what truly matters. Fact is merely means. Modern Western philosophy, since Descartes prioritized the theory of knowledge, but Indian philosophy has consistently placed values at the forefront of its inquiry. So, and
Indeed.
we will actually talk about, because this is something important and very deep rooted in it's like a bija mantra of Bharatiya darshan itself. So the decision
Yes.
between values and facts and knowledge, and the three cardinal values in Indian philosophy: dharma, artha, kama, moksha, jivan mukti, living liberation, and rasa, ascetic joy. I think let's delve little bit into this fact versus value. So, Nina and also Rishi, like how do you like paraphrase this statement?
Yeah. So, as far as fact is concerned, I think the word that he uh, used brilliantly was that the sadhya, or that through which we get to cognize, or what should I say, that through which we get to experience the object, that pathway. That's what is the theory of knowledge deals with, the epistemology, which is called, and that's where
Mm-hmm.
the whole so-called fact remains. In that scenario alone, which is also reflected over here, that fact is merely a means. So basically, what a fact does is give us information of any object, that okay, it's in this
Mm-hmm.
state, these are the characteristics, these are the changes it goes through under certain processes, etc., 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 etc. Now, here comes a crucial part. So, uh, Western philosophy stuck in that process alone. What should I say? It's from this whole tradition that they have, right? That philosophy. So, what is philosophy? Philia. Philia means love. Or Sophia means, I think, knowledge. If I'm not mistaken. Nina
Hmm.
could correct
Hmm.
me. Also, Vimarsh Dada could correct me. So this love for knowledge, this love for information that they have, this is very crucial, I think, in Western tradition itself. Right back from Herodotus to right now, even they always, pun intended, value facts over value itself. Uh, this has been always the case, and the conception of values they put in later. Whereas in case of us, it's like, why should we even approach a fact without even knowing its value? It's a waste of time in most of the places. You waste your energy, you waste your effort as well in mugging up various set of knowledge, which at the end of the day will not do anything to you. It will not be of value at all, and that's where I think the crucial difference comes up. Uh, at least that's my formulation. Maybe you can correct me, both of you.
Yeah, Nina.
Want me to talk about this fact versus value distinction?
Yes, if you want, or you can also talk about the three cardinal values in Indian philosophy, three or four, whatever they have mentioned, whatever you feel like.
So from what I understood, like he was using the words, right?
Hmm,
Uh, he was also using how the words about facts, what is already siddh, that is proven,
hmm, hmm, hmm,
and he was using the word for values. I think he was using sadhya, which is you can call it to be moved towards or to be achieved.
Desired,
hmm,
And
desired.
the fact exists, but the value does not exist. You are supposed to do the action to make it exist, or
hmm,
uh, more accurately, you are supposed to do the action to have the quality of that value.
hmm.
And
Okay.
what else was he telling? Another difference was that obviously facts are like observable and verifiable as it is,
Hmm,
and values are more about realization.
hmm,
In the scheme of facts, uh, what end leads to what means and what ends lead to what value is a matter of realization. It's not a matter of fact, and
hmm,
it's always subjective also.
hmm,
Then values are also about desires and what you desire. Facts are more related to reality than about human desire. That's why values are also about transformations in values and so on. Yeah,
hmm.
that is
Okay.
all that I had
Yes.
in mind.
So if I understood correctly, okay. So here the fact versus value is something like correct. You can actually describe a flower via the information, the what color it is, what size it is, how many petals it has, how many other physical characteristics. So the physical characteristics of a flower can be described by the knowledge or the information which you will have. But will that information is good enough to appreciate the beauty of that flower or the flower's fragrance itself? So information will help you to actually appreciate or create the perception or how would say the feeling of beauty that you see in the flower, and that beauty is something which is beholden to the every individual who's looking at the flower. So information everybody will have, but the beauty only few can see. So I think that's how I understood fact versus value.
Hmm.
Is that correct,
And to
Rishi?
complement your point, and
Hmm,
yeah, I think so, very much so.
hmm,
And I think to complement both your viewpoints,
hmm,
maybe you can correct me on this. So this is
hmm,
something which came to me just right now. So
hmm,
uh, I think he what he was trying to hint at in the first article that we read, that while explaining any process or let's say any scenario, uh, according to Western philosophy, facts are enough to do so. But what they forget is when you are trying to analyze something, those facts also put in those also uh, like they also make us uh, conceptualize a value of those very different objects which are there in that scenario itself. So that aspect of value is forgotten or not even mentioned. And what happens is when they create a narrative around that or create an explanation to explain that scenario, that value is taken out and just facts remain, and
hmm,
then they project it out as a scientific uh, mm, hypothesis or a scientific theory itself. But what they forget is that because of the values that they had of those different objects, uh, there is a tinge bit of bias that there is in their narrative making when they're explaining a situation. And
Hmm.
that is something which Indian philosophy explains it beforehand, that okay, we have these values,
Hmm.
so these are the facts of these objects, this and those different objects have this sort of values, and then we make an explanation out of that. So it's a very clear holistic system and a holistic approach, whereas that is a bit hidden, I would say. Like they hide away the value portion and only focus on the facts and information itself. uh, any comments on this?
Yeah, I think we have covered this. Let's actually cover this very interesting perspective. Correct. So when the author says about the correct Indian value system, and it talks about on top of the pyramid is dharma or righteousness. Then you have artha, kama, moksha, jivan mukti, and rasa. So like if any of you want to like share your perspective on all these five value systems that Bharatiya darshan has compared to, because in other philosophies, correct, or we can't see them darshan, but other philosophies, correct, we don't see the kind of structured approach towards value systems, human value systems.
Yeah, Nina, you can go forward, then maybe Shekhar can enter into this.
You can finish your point if you had any.
No,
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 I am done with
I don't
mine.
have any uh, I don't have any particular point per se, but it's just the thing I notice is that the whenever we are talking about fact, we forget that the facts are always used to draw conclusions. Now, who is
Hmm.
guiding those conclusions? Because you are not, there can be many conclusions you can draw from facts. Even if
Hmm.
you have information based on person to person, you can draw many conclusions. Now, the way
Hmm.
you draw conclusion is very important. Now, the way that is being provided here, as far as I am concerned, that way is very important. The way they are, the guiding principle they are using to draw conclusion is from your culture or traditions. But the problem is the culture and traditions, they have already destroyed it. There is no culture or traditions they have got. The only thing they have got as a replacement for culture and tradition is their Christianity, as far as I have understood, and even that is not that much of a influence nowadays. So whatever they have got, they it's some kind of amalgamation of different kinds of things they have assimilated from different kinds of cultures, and whatever the Christianity had destroyed and whatever is being left from that. Now we have, as far as Indians or Hindus are concerned, we have got a guiding principles of dharma. Now it is a very vague term. It is by purpose a very vague term, because if you can define it, you can use it and you can misuse it both ways. If you have an exact law, it is very easy for people to misinterpret it. It has to be a vague. If in a cultural context, the value of anything that is being defined is has to be something that is very vague. The guiding principle has to be very vague, because you are not talking about a specific time period. You are talking about a span of thousands of years. So the principle has to apply in all those time periods. So it has to be vague.
Understood. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else has any comments to make? Nina, Rishi.
I think I have an idea why he had also mentioned Descartes, because
Mm-hmm. Descartes.
uh, Descartes, yeah, Descartes, yeah. So
Hmm.
his primary emphasis was about the theory of knowledge, that is epistemology,
Hmm.
and everything was about establishing like if a fact is true or not, and then from that you build everything.
Okay, I'm
All
going to
yeah.
interject you because I thought of something which I might actually contribute positively to this conversation. When we are talking about correct the value systems, okay. So are we talking about value systems in terms of the human mind inherently needs a certain kind of actually I would say belief system with for a lack of a better word. Correct. So there has to be something bigger than you to actually give you a sense of semblance or sanity to your life. So correct, for millions, so thousands of years. Okay, if we consider that for thousands of years, human beings have believed in some supernatural being. Okay, whoever that may be, and that gave him a kind of a like a mental peace or a kind of a mental clutch to actually live on. Because if you don't have any belief system, faith system, or in Hindu thought, what we would say is Atman, okay, or Param Brahma or Param Brahman. So that is the kind of, which is actually a psychological need that we have. So in the context of correct, when the Greek civilization, Romans lost their inherent pagan gods, then they had Christianity, and that also lost its luster due to scientific theories, scientific facts ruled over all their previous beliefs. So now is scientificism, okay, or scientific thought, or scientific approach to inquiry has become their new religion as such, because they have nothing else to uh, roll back upon. Like we have our dharma, correct? So we can go back to our dharma. But for these people, they have lost their native faith, pagan gods. They have lost their Christian identity. Now they are only left with facts and knowledge as their mental clutch. Yes.
So yeah, that's why you see a more of an atheist tendency among these philosophers as well, like Descartes, is, right? Even though they lean on religion in some ways, but there is an atheist tendency as well, and they tend to be reductionist and simplify everything to purely facts. So there was a famous thing called Hume's law. You can Google it if you want, and it is about how you should not assume things from an argument and start with that. You have to first establish the fact, start with the fact, and then you have to build something. So you should not assume in their philosophy, in the modern Western philosophy. So that's where this kind of thing comes. Later on, there was even a school of thought called positivism, which
Hmm.
was more which was about how uh, empirical facts, everything that is empirically can be empirically and scientifically proven. That is true. Everything else is not true, but is a postulation. So yeah, from these kind of modern Western schools, we come to the problem which M Hiriyanna is trying to address. That values also have an actual value in this world.
Yeah, so correct. There is no value system as such left in philosophy. Correct, in Western philosophy itself. It's all about
Yeah.
epistemology, and it
Yeah, and
started
that I
with correct.
think
Yes,
breeds.
philosophy itself is epistemology, and our philosophy, because it's a value, it's about wisdom. In a way, I found one disagreement with Rishi, that he was
Hmm.
trying to
Mhm,
take it back to Greeks, but I found that this word philosophy, right, when he was dividing it into um,
Mhm.
Sophia and Philia, that is similar to
mhm.
ours. It is about the same kind of which M. Hiriyanna mentioned, right? What was it? The same kind of
Desired
appreciation for knowledge.
value.
Yeah, the appreciation and desire for knowledge. It is a lot closer to ours than modern Western philosophy.
Kind of. It is closer to us.
And
What I was trying to. Shekhar, please.
No, the point the Nina was making, it's kind of like they have gift wrapped the whole thing. The whatever the matter they have got, they will gift wrap it in terms that are being used by the Greeks and Romans, and they will just serve it to everyone, just like that. They don't they these people don't even themselves understand what they are talking about. They will just put some words, the complex words, like the simple minded people will not understand. They will think this kind of some superior knowledge, and they will repack it in some Christian way. Like the material, original material will be always be Christian, because everything that they've got comes from Christianity. Anything that comes that is against Christianity will not be digested. So the main gift, or the main material which is being used here, will always be coming from Christianity and the Christian traditions. They will just gift wrap it so it will become digestible for whole world. So what, it's like you are just seeing the thing from outside, and the inside is like, it's horrendous.
True.
Acha, okay. I think let's discuss a little bit more about his key insights from the work, or else Rishi, you want to read it from there, and we can discuss later, because I think it will go for 2 or 3 episodes, because there's a lot to unpack
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you want to go
absolutely.
back to
This will go.
reading? Back to reading.
Uh,
What
Next,
what do
I
you want to
guess
do?
we will be reading about Purushartha. Next, we'll be reading about Purushartha.
Just hold on,
So,
you can carry on.
I have a few thoughts on my point earlier on the Greeks one, how the Greeks are more
yes,
similar
please.
to our thing. So there was an uh, also a dialogue, I think, between Plato and Socrates, and in that Plato identifies how the form of he talks about the form of the good, and basically it's about values and how they fit in within philosophy. There, he explicitly identifies knowledge and truth as important, but as you can say, like continuing Socrates' method, he says that the good is yet more prized, and all he even goes as far as to say almost the same thing as M Hiriyanna. He says that he then proceeds to explain, although the good is not being, that it is not there. It is superior in rank and power. It is what provides for knowledge and truth. He is essentially saying the same thing, that the fact is there, but the value, it must be acted upon to achieve, and it is superior to the fact in nature. Rishi
Yes.
or Shekhar,
Okay,
you
so
can add something about.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rishi or Shekhar can comment on what I said.
It's
so
true to some extent, I
on
guess,
that,
because the only difference I can think of is that in here we have got a, let's just say for the common masses, we have got a religion and a philosophy per se, because Greeks only got philosophy. They did not have theology. The problem, the difference, if I can point out, is that we have got theology first, then maybe we can, mm, to some extent, say that we have got philosophy. But the Greeks only got philosophy. They did not have theology.
Or you can
So I
say in
guess,
ours there is less of a distinction at all.
yes, that is also there, because we have got all things mixed up, because there is no thing such as religion per se, because there is no dogmatic thing. So there
Hmm.
is that also, and the theology also goes in the realm of philosophy there, because the rishis and the gurus will always talk about uh, the gods, and as well as the philosophy of the life. Why are we living? They will always talk about things like that. So it's kind of a mix up of both sides. But as far as the Greeks are concerned, I think the theology part is missing, because they don't, there is no particular focus on gods and how do they interact with the philosophy. Like in our case, the philosophy and the theology, the gods always interact with philosophy to some extent, but they did not have that, as far as I have read. But maybe I can be wrong.
Okay. So,
yeah, so my Mhm.
go ahead, Rishi. Then I will share. Go ahead.
Yeah, we must have this. Yeah. So my approach was that it simply, as I have seen in the couple of texts which have come about from the Greek
Hmm.
tradition,
Hmm.
yes, they do talk about values, like how Niner also mentioned from the dialogues. I think I guess in Republic there it is, or somewhere else, Phaedo, where
Yeah, in the Republic.
Socrates talks about values and all. Okay, Republic. Okay. Uh, I see a breakage in that, like with Socrates, it just ends, and somehow with the Aristotelian thought process, which then creeps in, and also with Plato as well. Uh, yes, they do talk about values, but then they get into all sorts of metaphysical and all those things, so-called facts-based discussion, theorizations. What's that? What are we trying to describe? What is the source of ideal? How is it different from the real world, and so on? These set of uh, discussions come about. That was my point. Okay, so and as Vimas Dada was saying, in the next portions, I think we will be talking about Purushartha. So, Vimas Dada, would you like to get into that then?
Uh, let me see. Actually, we have another podcast coming. Okay, in about an hour's time.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
So
then let.
yeah, I think okay, Abhay, if you want to share something to us, you can come and join. I think this is a very like complex topic and very difficult topic to actually
Yeah.
discuss. So go ahead.
Now, if we are talking about values, now
Hmm.
how are how are we going to define it? Because are we defining the value, or if we can define the value, are we defining it from our perspective? Because let's say, for example, I've got something. Now, that thing has a value. That thing has a fact because it exists. Let's say that
Shekhar,
thing has a value, economical. Yes.
Shekhar, see, what we are trying to understand is something which is being what is it done sadhana by our greatest of rishis over thousands of years. So okay, थोड़ा recap कर लो. सर के ऊपर से जा रहा है. Exactly what I was trying to say. What we are trying to discuss is something which is, it's easy if you understand it. It's next to impossible if you do not understand the perspective. Okay, so what we can do is we can do a recap, and actually what we need to set the first principle or baselines for the discussion. So what we will do is, Rishi, we will go through the
Okay.
text, okay, and refine the text
Hmm.
for the audience to set the baseline. Like, what do you mean
Fair
by
enough.
value? What do you mean by example? Correct. Uh, Let me see. Yeah, what do you
Hmm.
mean by philosophy and what do you mean by values? Okay. So fact and value, we need to first
Hmm.
differentiate in a very easy language for the audience to understand, and then we can delve into it. Okay. And how does the values of Indian philosophy actually differ, and what are its components? Okay, so these are a bit complex topics, philosophy, to actually discuss, because first of all, the audience needs to understand the baselines, and then we can delve into it more. Okay, so what
True.
we'll do is we will recalibrate the documentation. Okay, and we will first give a recap to the audience in our next session, set the baseline, and then we will try to discuss those specific topics that I mentioned, like Vedanta as culmination, direct experience over belief, what they actually mean. So we will take the help of these texts and other explanations to actually give our audience a little bit more understanding. Also, we'll also learn. So it's not like we know. We are also learning phase, but with the audience itself, so that the audience can learn and we also can learn from them. Okay.
Hmm. Niner or Shekhar, कुछ
Hmm.
बोलेगा इस
Okay.
पे?
Yeah. Last words, because we have a podcast coming at 7 p.m. On Bangladesh. A very important podcast on
Yep.
Bangladesh future and elections. So go ahead, share your thoughts.
मेरा थोड़ा इसमें थोड़ा अलग है विचार, पर तब अब मैं
बोलो
इस पे अभी तो नहीं
बोलो.
बोलना चाहूंगा, मैं थोड़ा और इस पे
अच्छा
जानना
नहीं.
चाहूंगा, फिर बोलूंगा मैं।
अच्छा ठीक है ना भैया, या इट्स बेटर कि और थोड़ा सा पढ़ लेंगे हम लोग और थोड़ा जान लेंगे, क्योंकि ये बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स टॉपिक है। इस पर हजारों सालों से लोगों ने साधना किया है, तो थोड़ी साधना हम भी कर लें। And Barbarica, we'll do a recap. Okay, it's a very complex topic, so we will do a recap, and you can watch the initial portions where we read the text, but the recap you will get in the next session where we will have the full document ready for you to actually get explained and discussed. Yes, last words to everybody.
Yeah, so today we got to know something easily. I could say the baseline would be the definition of value which was given over here was ishta and dushta.
Hmm.
Value being that object of liking, ishta,
Hmm.
that which is
Hmm.
desired,
Hmm.
that is what we call as value, and the opposite of it or disvalue is that which
Hmm.
should be shunned or avoided at all costs, dushta. From that we
Hmm.
started,
Hmm.
and then we will move forward with that, I guess.
Got it. Nina.
Yeah, that would be the same thing Rishi said. I do not have
Hmm.
much to add.
Hmm. Okay, so thank you, audience, for joining for this very difficult but very important discussion on the works of Mr. Hiriyanna, a genius in terms of philosophy in 17th century. He was born. So we will all see you at 7 p.m. For a special podcast with Mr. Deep Haldar and his co-author on his new book, and we will also talk about the politics of Bangladesh and the elections in February. So see you everybody at 7 p.m. and you can again join us at 10:30 p.m. with Bijidda on our continuing series on Christianism. So it is our part 6 of the series on lectures on Christian thought. So see you everybody. Bye bye. Jai Shri Ram. Vande Mataram.
Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.